future talent. But I also think it's important to remember it's such a young age, and it's such a big important event that sometimes the nerves can get the better of these riders. So it's not just the riders who end up on the podium who will be talented riders in the future. Sometimes it takes people a longer time to get into the sport and really find the strength and the forte. It's just a great way to see, this is the new talent. These are going to be the future Olympic and world champions. So it's fantastic, and I think it's really great that they are racing here at the same championships as the elite.
We just saw a little group of riders who were coming down to that looping turn to come back. There's another group of around about 10 riders who are just behind this group as well. But now we're seeing a peloton which is kicking on quite a lot. So their opportunity to come back is going to be very, very difficult. They're going to be pretty tired if they do make it back. We know from listening to Radio Tour, there's around about 60 riders now in this front group of riders. So it's much bigger than it was before. But the likes of Hannah Arensman and other riders are going to be in that group behind now, aren't they?
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the thing after a crash. You have to get back on your bike. You have to remain calm, get back on your bike, but get back on as quick as possible, because all the time that you're off the back of the group, you're just wasting energy. And quite often you see riders who have crashed, taken such a long time for a bike change or whatever to get back onto the group. They finally get there, and then they're exhausted. And they're, if it's near the end of the race, they're just not quite at the level they would have been without the crash. So hopefully this group behind can rejoin as quickly as possible, because if there's only 10 of them, they're going to be wasting a lot of energy if they're all working together rather than just sat in the pack. And if you're in the middle of the pack, it can be quite easy at times. You've got no wind in your face, you're not pushing too hard. But I think it looks like these riders are really calm and relaxed and ready to race again now.
Anyone who's watching at the moment and trying to work out how do you find your way through a pack of riders, 60 riders travelling at such quick pace, somewhere between 25 and 30 miles an hour, sort of 40 to 45 k's an hour. How do you move up in here? How do you find your way through the little gaps, or are there gaps, or do you open gaps yourself?
It is a real skill, and you see some riders, they can just do it. They're just natural. You don't necessarily have to learn it. Of course, you get better with experience, but some riders, especially you can tell with the juniors who are younger, they can just find their way through the bunch. They don't even have to be told what to do. They just feel the movement of the peloton, and they can do it. Other riders, they can be the best riders in the world, so strong, and they simply can't. And they go from the back to the front, around the outside, and that's it. And there's so many riders, quite often time trial riders, who are actually strong enough to be able to do that, can do huge efforts up the outside to get to the front. But the sprinters and the riders who really need to conserve energy and maybe aren't as powerful have to use the tactical ability and the skills to move through the bunch. I was definitely more that kind of rider. I wasn't that powerful, so I had to save as much energy all day long. And I used to love the bunch, the feeling of bunch. Of course, there's the risk of crashing, but it was the adrenaline and you're so close, you're almost touching riders, you're finding your way through gaps, you're making gaps. And I thought that was the best part of cycling.
So it's very much that you need. I know coaches always say stay near the front, stay where the action is, try and stay where you can see what's happening. But do you almost start to see gaps that are bigger in the peloton the more experienced you get? So you think when you're young, you think, oh, I can't get through that, but later on you think, actually, my bars will fit through there, or I can. Do you use little techniques like, can you just tap someone to go through a gap, or do you shout? Is there a lot of talking going on?
Yeah, it definitely helps with experience and you get more comfortable. But I also found as a junior or younger rider, first year elite, I didn't know the other riders, so I didn't necessarily trust their ability, and you didn't want to get too close to someone because you don't know how they are on the bike. But as you'll see now, the elite riders in the pro peloton, they all know each other so well. They know who will move out the way when you get near them. They'll know certain sprinters. You go near them, they are not moving. There's no chance. I used to avoid so many riders because I go close to them and I'm just thinking, there's no way they're going to let me in this gap. So you just get a feel for it, and you trust the other riders. Everybody's at a good level of ability, and they're tactically well, and they can hold the position. So it's really an important skill to learn, and Unfortunately, though, no matter how good you are at saving energy and sitting in the perfect position, someone crashes in front of you, that's it, like we just saw then. It can be really unfortunate.
4 laps to go then, Lucy, in this championship. This is the World Championship for juniors. And we look here at the peloton. Just to update you as to what's happened, this is a group of riders who are just behind. And this group of riders are desperately trying to get back. For those of you who've just joined in now, there was a huge crash after 7 kilometres of racing. It took down pretty much half the peloton. It happened very near the front, and this group of riders are chasing now to try and get themselves back to the race. We now have around about 60 riders in the front group. As we look here at this group of riders, around about, 2, 4, 6, 8 riders trying to get back to the front group. And a few riders have still been waiting for bike changes. They were left at the side of the road. The team cars are quite a long way back. And other riders were safely back into peloton. We've got around about 60 riders. This group of riders include, interestingly, the rider from France, one of the pre-race favourites, Juliette Labousse, is in this group of riders, which is real shame for the French rider, and they're quite a long way back, around about 1:19. I'm just checking. Is Juliette Labousse in this group? I think she is. She was nearly, hopefully she'll get herself back into the race, because it's a big gap for her to close.
Yeah, well, of course, she's a strong time trial rider, 3rd recently in the individual time trial, but still, no matter how strong you are, you don't want to be in this situation if possible, because you've got to burn so much energy and put so much effort in just to get back into the race. And like I said before, you can sometimes get back and then get dropped again because you've had to go so deep to try and make it there. So, yeah, it's unfortunate to see just from a simple crash that these riders are now left almost without an opportunity, but there's still a long way to go. 1:20, it's still possible, but look at the speed now out of these corners. The race is really on, and I think we're really going to start to see some action really heating up now.
So just to update then, 56 riders are in the front group. Then at 22 seconds now, a group that contains Juliette Labousse of France, Martina Fidanza of Italy, Maika Bugart of the Netherlands, Julien Aguirre of Mexico. Also in that group, Victoria Pikulik of Poland, Haji Jacques of Slovakia, and Megan Heath of the United States of America. They're about to catch the peloton, so they're working hard to do that. They're helping each other out a lot. Number 12 there's done a lot of work, clearly, Martina Fidanza. Then there's a group at 1:19, quite a long way back. And just to update you, I'm just looking for Hannah Rensman and other riders like Lynette Benson, who have not been seen yet after the crash because they were still waiting for bike changes and everything else to actually happen. So 56 riders, and then a little group about to come back now, which will take us over 60 riders. And I think, Lucy, that is probably going to be the peloton for the day.
Yeah, it looks like, and it's so great to see that this many riders have been able to get all back together at the front. So it's a, it's a fair race. And unfortunately, there's a few girls there, a few of the good riders, the favourites for this race, like Hannah Arensman that we mentioned from USA, who may not be able to get back, which is unfortunate, but that's part of cycling, and it can happen to the best riders in the best races, and that's just part of it. And there's nothing you can do, unfortunately.
No, exactly. 58 kilometres to go. Thank you for joining us today. This is the World Championship for the junior women. Thanks for your messages on Twitter at Jens Decker, and also Lance and other people who have messaged us already. If you would like to join us, it's at Lucy Martin 05. Or is it Lucy Martin 5? No, at Lucy Martin 05, and at Ant McCrossan is where you can tweet us if you'd like to ask us any questions. Hopefully we've brought you up to speed. 57.9 kilometres of racing remaining, 56 riders in the front group, being joined now by a group of 8, and we know that a few riders are still a long way behind after that big crash that happened. It happened right at the front of the peloton on the right hand side of the road. And we're hearing on Radio Tour that Martina Fidanza of Italy almost back, but hasn't got back yet. 4 riders are just making their way in there now. And one of them is number 48, Chloe Moran, coming back as well as Victoria Pikulik, the Polish time trial champion. Coming back also is Julian Aguirre of Mexico. Number 11 there, Chiara Consoni. Great teamwork being done there as she waits for her teammate.
Yeah, that's really great to see that she's realised the riders behind struggling a little bit, and she's trying to just sit at the back and not necessarily go off the back, but just provide support. And sometimes just mentally, if you're struggling to catch up and you see your teammate at the back, it just gives you a little boost of morale to get there. And she may even drop off a little bit just to let a teammate join the back wheel and then bring her back on, because it's so much easier in the group than to be a few metres off behind. And even mentally, if you're really struggling, you can see the group there but you can't quite get to it, it's the worst feeling sometimes. Yeah,
you sometimes just don't have the legs to shut that little final gap. You can see her down to the right hand side of the shot, right in the right hand side of the screen. She's almost there. Her teammate, there's another rider as well, Slovenian rider, number 80, Hadji Jack, is trying to come back here. She's almost on the back of the peloton, so close, but just desperately trying to shut the gap.
It's easier to say, obviously, just sat here watching, but she just needs to get out the saddle and really just a full effort sprint onto the back of it. And, you know, if you're struggling, that's a hard thing to do. But from my own experience, when I was getting dropped quite often sometimes in these hilly races anyway, you know, you're going as flat out as you can, but sometimes to pace yourself on slowly, it just takes forever, and you're just dangling, and quite often you need to just go absolutely maximum effort, sprint back on, then you're there, you can recover, and it's the most effective technique, but easier said than done, of course.
Yeah, exactly. But you'd have thrived in this sort of race.
Yeah, I don't wish I was still racing now, because it's, you know, different times, but certainly wish when I was a rider that this would have been a course, because it would have been great. Yeah, it's like a big Belgium Commerce, which we used to race quite often.
It is. Look, she's going to get a little bit of help here. This could be good for both these riders, just help each other out and get back into the peloton. Number 12 is Martina Fidanza of Italy. Number 80 there is Hadji Jack of Slovenia. If they could just work together, help each other out, give each other a little turn and save a bit of energy, they could get back now, couldn't they?
Yeah, that would really help each other. It's so much easier if you've got someone with you. Even if you're not necessarily going faster, just for morale, you just feel like you've got some support and you're not just stuck there by yourself. And as you can see, yeah, they're working together, and I think if they can just hold this group and not lose any distance, then they're still in sight. They can still, you know, be motivated to jump back on. But it's once they lose sight of the peloton, that's where riders give up, and it just seems impossible.
Yeah, well, maybe they'll get back on now. Let's hope they do. You can see the amount of gaps as they come out of the corners here. Just wanted to update, if you are supporting the United States or New Zealand or South Africa, Hannah Arensman's now 4 minutes down, having had to wait for a bike change. Madeline Park of New Zealand also with her. Lynette Benson of South Africa is 4:39 down now, and Chang Yu of China 6 minutes down. A couple of other riders, Ana Heros of Mexico, looks like she is not back on her bike, and Anne-Sophie Harsh of Luxembourg didn't start today. So we've lost a few riders. It'll be very, very difficult for the likes of Hannah Arensman to come back to this junior peloton on the restricted gears. They'd have to really steady up to actually allow her to come back. I was just noticing on the left-hand side, if you take a look at Karen Swinkles, who is the winner of the time trial, nice touch. I think her team have already changed her bike. She's got gold handlebar tape, little gold stickers on the bike as well, having taken the World Championship the other day.
Yeah, it's great to see. Why not? She's world champion. She might as well have as much as she can. Gold everywhere, and it's, I mean, simple little things like that can really help. If you're struggling, you go on your absolute limit and you look down and just see some gold, just to remind you that you are world champion. It's incredible what the mind can do, and it can really, really help riders.
Yeah, and also I can see that she's riding with an awful lot of confidence today, which of course is all about the fact that she's the top rider in the world as far as time trialing is concerned, and she'll want to double up here and try and take the title as well, a little bit like Chloe Dygert did last year.
Yeah, there's many riders who they win the World Championships maybe 1 year and then they come back and they're so confident they win it again a year later, or they win the road race and the time trial. And it's actually quite a continuous pattern. We've seen it a lot over the years. For example, last year Chloe Dygert won the road race and the time trial. 2011, 2012, Lucy Garner, both years won the road race. Amelie Didrikson, 2014, 2013, she won. Nicole Cook, way back in 2000, 2001. So it's quite often the riders actually at this junior level, they're either so much better, at this young age they're so much stronger, or they simply are just so confident and they believe they can win, and they quite often do.
Just at the back still is Chiara Consoni, looking around for her teammate now and then. She has another little glance to see whether she can help her come back when she notices, but the peloton slowed right down here. This is the big chance, the big moment for these two riders to get themselves back into the race, and I think the Slovenian rider has realized this because if you look, they are just in front, and it's amazing, isn't it? The Slovenian rider was really struggling on her own, looked like that was it, finished, and then when the Italian rider came up, she then looked like for a moment she might not stay on the wheel, and now she's the one doing all the driving. The Italian doesn't seem to have the legs as much as the Slovenian does.
Yeah, and like we said before, it's to have somebody else with you, it just helps so much. And of course these are competitors from different nations, but in cycling you have to work with people, and they're really working together like teammates right now to help each other get back on, because they both benefit from each other being there. So if they can share the workload a lot, that'll help a bit more, because of course if somebody's left on the front and nobody does the work, you're going to get a little bit annoyed. But it looks like the Italian rider's gone to the front now, and like I said before, they need to really just quickly as possible get on the back, because the longer they dangle out here, the more tired they're getting, and then before you know it, the gap's gone and they'll never rejoin. And it's tricky, especially with all these corners and roundabouts. It's hard to get into a good rhythm because you're having to slow down, sprint out the corners, but the peloton has slowed a little, so it's possible maybe they will come back on.
Let's take a look in a moment. We'll see whether they get a little bit closer. Do you remember learning to just calm down if you were dropped like this after a puncture, to just let your body not have that nervousness and learn to come back steadily but get back quick?
Yeah, and that's such an important thing to learn, because it's the complete opposite of what you naturally do. Like, you crash, you have a puncture instantly. It's unexpected, of course. So then you panic, and then all of a sudden it's just a mental thing. You can go really switch and be really negative, and you can think, oh, the race is over, like, bad luck for me, I'm never going to get back on. But if you can just relax and just think of it as, this is what's happened, all I can do now is deal with it, then you often see these riders who are so calm do get back on, and they save energy from not panicking, and they do get back on. And especially if you watch the men's racing and the elite women's racing, often they have a puncture, and sometimes they just stand there and they seem not even bothered. They're just quite happily smiling away, talking to the mechanic, fix the bike, and then they go again and they return to the pack. So yeah, it's a key thing to learn, and I was quite impressed actually. I saw a lot of junior riders. Of course, some of them were stressing and panicking, as you would, but a few of them did seem quite composed and relaxed, and they got back on. They didn't do too much work to get back on. They just, they realised it will all come back together.
There's
great.
A lot of drop bottles in this area right now, but the Italian rider manages to grab that one nice and easily. The Croatian does as well. The Italian, I think, is going to take another bottle just in case. This rider, considering she's a junior, I think is some team player. She's thinking about her teammates all the time. Immediately she grabbed a second bottle, put it down her jersey, and that is to make sure that she feeds somebody else.
Yeah, and as we were talking about in the time trial, the Italians have a really strong team here, and it looks like they've been racing together a lot, and they've just got such strong riders. In the Europeans, they were first and second, so I think they've practiced a lot together, and they generally have learned quickly about road racing and the tactics and teamwork, and they're in a big team. They've got 5 riders here, so it's easier to race tactically. Some of the teams, of course, who only have 2 riders, it's slightly different. So yeah, it's great to see, and I think a lot of managers and other riders watching this will realise how experienced these girls actually are.
It's a little bit of a split here. Well, having said great teamwork, I hope she gets back on here, the Italian rider, because there's riders leaving gaps as we see the attack at the front and riders going clear. The Americans are trying to mix this up. That's going to cause problems for the 2 riders coming back. You know, we were talking a moment ago about Carlin Swinkle's bike. Here's a bit of a morale boosting thing for you, because I've had a message. Thank you to Anton for sending this message in to me. The brother of Marianne Vos. Carlin is riding Marianne Vos's old road bike after London 2012.
Wow. That's definitely going to give you some morale, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? And also, we said she looks like she's got the style of Marianne.
Yeah.
So the position can't be that much different, because Marianne has that really great style on a bike that's just such a racing style. And Carlin looks the same from the front. It's quite strange.
Yeah, and to come from a country like Holland with so many strong riders for these girls to look up to be able to ride on the Olympic road race bike of an Olympic champion from your own country who you've probably idolised your whole life, that's just absolutely fantastic. And she's already world champion, so she's shown she's a huge talent, and I think that's going to give us so much confidence today.
Certainly will do. So every time she looks down at that bike, she could be thinking, Marianne Vos rode this bike. That's going to give you the biggest morale boost you need to bring home a double world title, which of course is what she's aiming to do. Don't forget, if you would like to message us like Anton just did, at Ant McCrossan and at Lucy Martin 05 is the place to message us. Lots of you are watching. We don't think Hannah Rensman has got back. A few of you asking, has she? Well, I think she's still a few minutes behind. We haven't seen another group come back. The group in front is around about 56 riders, maybe just over 60 riders now, because a couple didn't quite get back. So I think 4 riders rejoined, so 60 riders in this front group of riders. And it's now the American team who seem to be setting the tempo, but we're seeing 1, 2, 5 riders being dropped off the back, and I'm wondering where the Italian rider is. Did she get back on? Because she was in this group, having taken a bottle for her teammate, Chiara Consoni. I think she looked like she went straight across when she saw the gap opening. She seems to be a very strong rider.
Yeah, and you can see now there's the 5 riders here. This is from a big surge in pace that we saw a minute ago, with there was a few attacks, and that really accelerated the pace in the peloton. And of course, if the peloton's riding along and you're sitting comfortably in the bunch, it's easy enough. But now the race is really heating up, and that acceleration has just caused these riders to drop off the back, and they're quite a little bit behind now. So I think now it's 48 kilometres to go. We've had the crash, we've had the regrouping, everybody's calmed down, recomposed themselves, and I think now we're going to really see some more attacks as people want to get away, but the distance to the peloton is to the finish line. It's possible if you wanted to get away, you could form a good breakaway.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking down there on the right hand side to the Italian and Slovenian. I don't think they're going to get there. Consoni has got back to the front. She looks to her teammate and says, do you need a bottle? They're obviously looking after one rider in here for the finishing sprint. And the Italians have got some good riders. Who in the Italian team do you think they would be riding for?
I think Elisa Balsamo. Well, she's the national road race champion. She was 6th last year at the World Championship, so she's a second-year junior now. She's a year older, a year stronger. She was 2nd in the European road race, so she's certainly a good road rider. And of course, they've got the European team time trial champion, Lisa Morzenti, who was 2nd recently in the individual time trial here. So a strong rider, maybe not so good in the sprint, whereas a teammate's slightly better in the road racing. So they've got numbers and they've got various options. So I think the Italians are going to be a key team to look out for.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're absolutely right. Lisa Morzenti, a really good time trialist. Elisa Balsamo, I was watching and seeing some sprint victories of her last night when I was looking up some of the information about Elisa and reminding myself about some of the races she's won in Italy. But these riders constantly riding some pretty big races. As we look here at this group of riders who've been dropped there, finding it very, very difficult to get back on. Yang Zhuhan of China is the leading rider in that group. They're almost there, but they've wasted an awful lot of energy. The two cars moving to the right-hand side. The two riders from Hong Kong, China are there, number 49 and 50. Lung Hoi Hua and Li Yin are the two riders who are just there for Hong Kong, China. But it's desperately close now to the front of the race. Things have calmed down a little bit now. We've got the front group of riders. We've had the crash. If you've just joined us, it was a huge crash. Half the peloton held up by it. Luckily, no one majorly hurt in that incident. Just a big touch of wheels, a lot of sliding, a few broken bikes, a few broken wheels. But the riders have all pretty much come back apart from about 4 or 5 riders who are still out of the back of this race. And when they come through the line this time, we'll be able to see exactly where they are. So things have calmed down. We've talked about a few riders, Lucy, about potential wins. But as we go through the other teams, should we pick out some names, some people, as we see a big attack at the front, right on cue as we're about to. The Netherlands looks like Carlin Swinkels going on the attack yet again, trying to really stretch this tempo out. They're going to come through the 1 kilometre to go to the line. She really is ripping it round this corner, and suddenly, just as that group of riders are about to rejoin, the tempo goes up hugely, and it looks like everyone's going to be in one long line now.
Yeah, they were so close to rejoining them. That was unlucky timing, but she's just split the peloton apart. It's still one group, of course, but it's so strung out, and some of the riders won't be expecting these huge surges, and you can lose focus. You can be sat in the peloton daydreaming, and that's why you need to keep so focused, because if anybody attacks like that, all of a sudden you're in trouble. And unfortunately, that was bad timing for these 5 riders who nearly got back on.
It's always the way, isn't it? You are so close, and this is the worst point because the race now goes uphill, and this is the Dutch rider going clear yet again off the front of the race, desperately trying to split this up. This is Carlin Swinkels who goes clear. The world champion, the American rider, shakes her head. Says, someone do some work. Don't want to let her go like this. It's been an attacking race by this young rider so far. Coming up then with 3 laps of racing to go. We're seeing a pretty animated junior women's race so far. Sometimes you just see the peloton of riders riding along, but this is not the case today as they go across the line this time, and it's Duenas of Colombia who is the leading rider that time.
Yeah, this gap to these 5 riders has really opened up again now, and it's great to see that there has been so many attacks, and so far mainly from the Dutch team, who have a really strong team, and they clearly have options, and they're clearly ready to take this race on. And we keep seeing these surges, which are really hard on the riders' legs. If you have a fast pace and someone attacks and you're chasing it, then you ease up and you go slow again, and then it happens again. It really is a wearing process, and that'll hurt the legs of some of the sprinters. And I think that could be a tactic, not only just to try and create a breakaway and get away, but also to keep the pace changing. It really affects riders, and also, of course, in this heat, it's hard to recover so easily.
Considering we're looking at a junior race, the pace here is very fast indeed. The average speed of this race on these junior restricted gears is over 40 kilometres an hour. That includes the crashes we've had, the chase, a bike change here for number 57. Victoria Pikulik was one of the riders who was held up in the crash, the Polish time trial champion. That was a quick bike change, wasn't it? Look at that. Runs in, gets her bike, and goes back on it. The mechanic wasn't even ready.
Yeah, I don't think he realised she was going to stop, but look at that. She knew what she was doing, quickly on the bike and straight away back in to the group. And she's a national time trial champion, so I'm sure she'll have no problem time trialling her way back onto the group. And it's really difficult if you have to change your bike, because you do have to stop. You have to lose time. You jump on a new bike, even if it's exactly the same position. It always feels slightly different. But she's obviously been riding and realised there's a problem and she doesn't feel comfortable. So it's great to see that she's just realised that, jumped off, quick, changed the bike and back into the race.
Yeah, exactly. This group of riders are 155 down. There's another group of riders just behind them. And I'm wondering if that's the group that contains the last riders who were involved in the crash. And they're not actually now that far behind. I'm just seeing them go past the commentary box in front of us. And there's a decent group of riders. And in fact, that's the group who were actually dropped off the back, including the Slovenian rider and the Italian who were trying to chase back on earlier on, and they've never got there.
Yeah, as you can see though now the pace is lifting again, and small group trying to go off the front here. American rider leading the way, and yeah, it's really great to see there's been so much aggression and attacking, and this is a little gap opened up, and this could go away. It depends how the peloton want to react now, but of course they're all in sight because they've just gone round a U-bend, and it looks like they're slowing. They could be quite happy to let this go away. Yep, 3 riders now going clear from the front of the race. One of the American riders, I think this is Skylar Schneider, who's going clear, who's a very, very good crit racer. Has won a lot of races in the United States of America. She's a national road race champion. As they go clear now from the front of the peloton. 43 kilometres to go. Just notably for French fans, Juliette Labousse is now back in the race. And she's at the front, actually. Went across the line that time in the 5th position when they crossed the line with 3 laps of racing to go. Now, these girls are all back together, so they've not let those 3 riders go away. And in a junior race like this, when there's not many... you've not got that many teammates, sometimes it's hard. You have to decide, do you really want to go for a breakaway and that's your tactic, and you're going to attack and you're going to be out there on your limit and give it everything to stay away? Or are you looking for an easy breakaway? You're looking to just jump into the moves and not really go so hard, but if you can get away easily, then great, you're in the move and you're in the front of the race. But I think with junior riders, basically quite often they can just not be that sure, and a lot of these girls won't know their competitors, because of course you can race in Europe or you can race in America or over in South America, these kind of places, but they don't necessarily all come together other than the World Championships to race, so they won't know too much about the competitors, so it's also hard to know who to go into a breakaway with, when do you go. It's still 42 kilometres, and all it takes is this these few split seconds of indecisiveness, and then you're caught before you know it. But as you can see here, they're trying again, and there's a couple of riders in the front trying, but they're all kind of jumping onto the wheels, and I think we'll see this for a little while until people start getting really tired, and then simply, if someone's strong and they want to attack, people in the peloton a little bit more tired, they don't necessarily want to be the people chasing back, so therefore a gap opens, and as soon as you have a gap on this course, I think you're quite quickly out of sight, and you can be away through the corners, and it could stay away. Yeah, exactly. That's Anastasia Muzalevskaya, who's just come back to the race, safely back into the peloton. There's now 55 riders in this front group. Behind them, a group of riders at 20 seconds as we go back here with Carlin Swinkles. She's quite busy, isn't she? She either goes to the back of the group or she's attacking. She's just taken her sunglasses off. I think she's looking really good. She looks so confident and so relaxed to decide, oh, I'm going to go to the back, take my sunglasses off, no problem. Whereas some of these girls will just be so panicking about missing a break or getting dropped or whatever. They're just staying near the front, and it's great now to see a really strong ride here by the Colombian. I've seen her a couple of times up near the front and trying to make this race, and she's just the one setting the pace. She didn't necessarily attack there, she didn't jump, but she's certainly stringing the group out. Look at this, from the roundabout all the way up there. That's a few hundred metres in from the first to the last rider. So some of these girls caught out at the back here, they're going to be in a bad position now if a gaps start opening and people can't hold on to the wheel. So that's another key thing about having to hold your position near the front of the race, because in situations like this, if people in front of you just let the wheel go when it's in a line, then all of a sudden you've got to go out into the wind, sprint round them, get back on. doesn't look like it's happening too much here, but
No.
that was definitely a really strong acceleration.
The Colombian rider is Tatiana Duenas, who was 7th. She won the 7th round of the Nations Cup. The danger for Carlin Swinkles of sitting at the back is that she's got to go round riders who start to struggle, and then she's got to close the gap. But she doesn't look to be worried about that at all. So the Tatiana Duenas, 7th in won the 7th round of the Nations Cup. There's a worldwide Nations Cup that the UCI have for junior riders, and she won one of those rounds. She's a very strong rider indeed, and she's trying to stir this up. She's riding on her own at the moment. There are 16 Colombian riders taking part in these World Championships, and she is the young junior rider who's taking part. Over on the right hand side, just wanted to mention the Danish riders who are sitting all together. They look good. I think they've got a little bit of an added motivation, because those of you who remember the first ever running of this championship for juniors was in 1987, and it was won by a French rider called Catherine Marsal, and Catherine Marsal is now the head of the Danish cycling program, who looks after all these junior riders. Must be a great motivation to know that your team director has won this race, knows what it was like way back then, and can give you maybe that just added a little bit of advice.
Yeah, definitely. That's so valuable to be able to have that. And yeah, if you're a young rider here, you're not sure what to do, who the competition is tactically, but somebody's won this race before, there just to support you. It's huge. It really is invaluable, and she can give so much direct feedback and just tell them what they should be doing. And it's okay if somebody else tells you that. My mum could tell me that, but I don't trust her quite as much. Whereas if you've been there and you've done it, then it's, you really respect that. And I think it's huge. And how amazing to be the very first winner. I
know, to be the first name on that list of now big names. You've already mentioned them: Lucy Guy, Amelie Diedrichsen, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot, Jolien Dorder, Marianne Vos, Nicole Cook. And we should just mention, in 1990, Ina Teutenberg.
Yeah, of course.
Because there's a link today.
Yeah, well, her niece is actually in the race today. She's more of a climber, so not necessarily the perfect race for her, but imagine, again, the experience and the knowledge you would have learnt from having an auntie who was one of the best female riders, one of the best sprinters, one of the best just riders to give advice and look after the young riders in the peloton. I always remember when Ina unfortunately stopped racing, there was like a hole in the women's pro peloton, because she was the rock of women's cycling. And even if you were in Gruppetto with her, she was laughing and joking, and she just gives so much advice. And even when I first started cycling, she didn't know who I was, she didn't know anybody, all these young riders, but she was always there to give advice and to help. So yeah, her niece must just learn so much about cycling. I'm sure she'll be a name that we'll see again in the future.
She was massively influential, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And everyone talks about her from that phase when they raced with her, about just how much she controlled what went on in the peloton, how much she could stop a race going quick or slow, or just thinking about the etiquette.
Yeah.
She was in the male peloton. You would the last patron really of the peloton, I think you could say, was Bernardino. To an extent, Fabian Cancellara has managed to do it a little bit, but Ina was the last major influence on the women's peloton in the way that everyone describes and does with such pleasure at reminding everyone about what she was like.
Yeah, exactly. And it really was such a sad time when she stopped racing, and of course she had an unfortunate crash, and that was part of it. But just in every way, she was there, and she was happy to give on advice and advise everybody about it. But still, while she's the best rider in the world and she was still winning, she was just unbelievable. I always remember in the Giro d'Italia one day in Gruppetto, and there was some riders, we were minutes down, but there was some riders pushing the pace at the front. And we were all thinking, I wish these riders would just stop because we're already dropped. But no one would ever say it except Ina. And if she went to the front and said something to you, you would listen.
Right.
And it was like she was just the boss of the peloton, yeah. So she'll be giving, I'm sure, some advice to the German team, especially if a relative of hers is in the race. And I think, like we just mentioned with the Danish coach there. It's so important for these girls to have people to look up to who are willing to give them advice, and it's really it does help. I remember when I started, and I'd always look up to certain riders, and you just learned so much from them. So I think these girls have got a lot to look up to.
Well, this morning I noticed at breakfast time you went and sat with Lars, who's her dad, and just picked his brains a little bit about the fact of his daughter riding. He must be very proud today of seeing her in this peloton.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure all of the parents here, it's the World Championship, so it's the biggest cycling road race of the year for these juniors, and to get the opportunity to pull on your national kit and race for your country, you can't beat it. It's the best possible feeling, and I'm sure all these riders are very proud to be here to do the best, and all the supporters as well.
French rider over there on the right hand side, just getting a bottle again, the same as yesterday in the under 23 men's race. All the service bikes have bottles, they have wheels. They are making sure that the health of these riders is looked after, the same as we have in the mountains in the Tour de France. These Shimano bikes, absolutely invaluable. Another big attack at the front. It comes from the Colombian rider, Tatiana Duenas, who doesn't want this race to come to a sprint, although looks to be a powerful sprinter as well. But Tatiana Duenas now going on the attack, and this is a good attack as one rider from France goes across to try and join up to see whether they can join together and form the first major breakaway. But it looks like the Germans don't want that to happen.
It's great to see the Colombians so active today and really taking this race on. But yeah, it's a strong attack here. I'm not sure if the peloton will be happy to let this go, though. It looks like the Italians and the Germans really don't want it to go away.
Through the feeding area, very busy yet again as riders grapple to get bottles. Phoebe Shortcut is the rider from Belgium, just in front of the camera there. Takes a bottle nicely. They're going through very quick. On the right-hand side, in the black, is Michaela Harvey, the New Zealand road race champion. Takes a bottle, takes 3 bottles, I think. Throws one, and she's taken 2 because her teammate, I think Madeline Park, I'm not sure she's back in the peloton yet after that crash held up so many riders. 36 kilometres to go. 2 riders still going clear, but the German team look to be trying to bring this back. Just a little bit of an advantage on the front of the race, but no major gap opening. The Americans are the team who are bringing this back as well. Whoops. I don't think throwing the bottle at the rider is really going to help you, is it?
It was interesting to see, though, the French rider is not going through and not helping at all. So she's leaving it all down to the Colombian girl, and as you can see, that's kind of caused it all to come back together because there's only one rider on the front putting the effort in.
Well, these riders trying to get back into the peloton now, having been held up through that feed. It's so hard if you're really near the back. Phoebe Shortcut, and in front is the New Zealand rider having to work really hard here. Michaela Harvey, she'll hope that everything slows up, but meanwhile another big attack from the German team, and also near the front the Norwegians behind the Russian rider desperately trying to get across.
Yeah, it's actually fantastic to see the Norwegian riders both in this race because, of course, Suzanne Andersen, after the time trial, I was actually hit by a car here while training. Luckily, she was okay. Her bike wasn't, but she's one of the favourites for today. National road race and time trial champion, 6th in the European road race. She rides for High Tech next year, and she's in the race again, despite that. So maybe she's not quite feeling 100% after, unfortunately being hit by a car here. But it's great to see she's back and she's supporting her other teammate. And they're both in the race, and we've not seen so much of her. I think she's just saving her energy and looking after herself in the peloton.
But of course the Norwegians team morale is very good after the win yesterday of Christopher Halvorsen in the under-23 race, and you see a gold medal come back to the hotel, and the whole morale of the team is absolutely lifted. Yesterday night we were lucky enough to be sitting talking with Andre Greipel, who watched the entire under-23 men's race. Said he learnt a lot, and also the morale of the German squad's really high. So the Germans in here have seen medal after medal come back to the hotel that we're staying in, and that's going to help them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you see a teammate from, or somebody from your country with a medal, it does spur you on, and all the staff, all the support crew, everybody's just lifted a bit because it's possible and it can happen. So, yeah, certainly to have the guy yesterday who won gold medal, that's going to help everybody. And yeah, I'm sure the Norwegians are very, very motivated right now.
I've had a message from Todd Arensman, who I can imagine is a relative of Hannah. I think asking, did she rejoin the peloton? So Hannah Arensman, did she get back? I don't think she has, Todd. I'm just having a quick look to see where she is on our GPS tracking. She's 5 minutes and 20 down at the moment. She's with Madeline Park of New Zealand. They were the two riders left by the side of the road. Desperately disappointing for her. Unfortunately, she's on her bike, but she isn't back in the peloton. On the left-hand side there was Megan Heath of the United States of America as they loop around this turn. 33.9 kilometres to go, but the American riders are certainly looking strong today. Nicoline Moraes is near the back there for South Africa as well. Other riders then we should be thinking about as we see more action at the front. Who else are we looking at as possible winners, or who have we picked out as big names in junior women's cycling?
Well, I think we've already mentioned it before, but the European road race champion from Germany, Leanne Lippert, certainly has shown that she's a strong road race rider, national champion as well, and I think she could be a key rider today. But it's quite an unpredictable race. I mean, at the moment there's no breakaways staying away. There's certainly some attacks, but I think it could come down to a sprint. There's only 33 kilometres to go, so in that case it's going to be really about the fast riders and positioning, and these nations with more riders within the team, they're really going to benefit because they can do lead outs, they can have a protected rider, whereas if you've only got one or two in the team, then it's a lot harder obviously to do so. But yeah, there's a lot of big names here who've had really good results. There's a lot of national champions, obviously the European champions here. It's quite a mix, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it a little while and then I'm going to ask you for your prediction, because we're 33 kilometres from the finishing line right now. One nation that is notable by its absence is Great Britain. What's going on there? 80 riders took to the start, loads of different nations, and no British team.
Yeah, well, I spoke to British Cycling about this, and they just said they were focusing on the European Championships instead. That was a real target for them, and Sophie Wright was third. We had another rider in the top 10, and they're obviously good, and they did really well there, but that was the focus, so they've just decided not to bring a team all the way over here.
And it's not unusual, is it? Because the years that you could have ridden Junior World Championships, you didn't ride because no team came. Yeah,
they kind of just pick and choose a little bit. I'm not exactly sure which years they decide they want to take riders, or whether it's financial or whatever. But yeah, the year before I was junior, the riders went, and it was huge, it was great. And then the 2 years that I was junior, we didn't go, and then the year after we went. So it's actually just a bit of luck, to be honest, whether you're in the right age group.
Bit of a shame. It was probably flat as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Jolien de Hoor won.
Oh, it would have been relative. Well, Jolien can climb for sure, but back then, I think, I'm thinking back to where it was, it was probably relatively flat.
Yeah.
You raced against Jolien Dora a lot, even as a junior rider.
Yeah, the British team, and they still do, they quite often go over to Holland and Belgium, race on the road, race on the track, and there's so much racing there, a lot of European countries. I'm sure many of these girls here have spent a lot of time racing. All the races over there, they've got all sorts of crits, comesses, time trials, track racing, and it's you often see like the stronger nations usually in the female peloton are from Holland and these kind of countries, Germany, where they've got easy access to a lot of races. And of course for riders elsewhere, you know, you've got to travel and it costs. So when you're a younger rider, and maybe you've not got as much support from the federation, whatever, it's a lot harder to actually get racing in the legs. So it's a key part of the development for these riders, is just being in big pelotons and racing well. Because I always remember years ago, I mean, it's changed a lot now in countries and in the UK, but the peloton would be 20, 30 riders, and then all of a sudden you go to Holland and you've got 140 junior riders. So
totally different.
Yeah, it's incredible, and that's really an early age where it's good to learn, as we were talking about before, bunch skills and being comfortable within the peloton, etc.
Looking down on a peloton that's around about 50 riders now as they make their way towards the end of this next lap. We're going to have 2 laps of racing remaining to decide the world champion of junior women. We are coming up now, 1 kilometre to go until we pass the line. Looking across, the United States of America all bunched together. France all looking good as well, with Juliette Labousse. Juliette Labousse 14th in this race last year. She won the 8th round of the Nations Cup and is the French road race and time trial champion, as a little acceleration happens going uphill, which I guess is the only little springboard. Apart from the other little hill on the other side of the course, it's hardly a hill, more of a drag for these riders to just try and use some of their prowess to go away. And yet again, it's the Colombian rider who is desperate to try and break this race up after 1 hour and 6 minutes of racing. Coming up now, Lucy, 2 laps to go.
Yeah, and again, she's strung the peloton out a lot, and it's really great to see that they're having an aggressive, hard race, and it's not just the peloton rolling around. They're really taking this race on, and there's a lot of big names in there just biding their time, waiting. They don't want to do too much. They want to conserve energy for the sprint. But as you see, another attack going again here.
This is one of the German riders going clear over the top, and it was Teutenberg now who has decided to try and stretch this race out a little bit. Followed immediately by Tefan Laurence of France. Skylar Schneider is always near the front for the United States of America. Skylar Schneider is a great crit rider, very, very good indeed, and certainly could get involved in the action, but I think they might try and lead out Summer Moak, who is the other American rider in here as well.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of good riders here. As I just mentioned, the German team, and we've talked about Teutenberg, we've talked about the European champion Lippert, but the Nations Cups, which you have quite often, various different races. It was great to see this year the German rider Christa Riffel won the Energy Vac Tour, and that's a stage race in Holland. The elite women have the same. It's known for being such a tough race. It's flat, it's windy, you really need a lot of skills. It's similar to this race in the fact that it's flat. This is probably a little more technical, as in wider roads and roundabouts, but yeah, she was very, very prominent in that race. She was attacking a lot and she won overall. So she's had racing in the legs. She's raced a tour 4 or 5 days long. So I think she's another German rider who's a really key rider today.
Look at that. 2 nations swapping drinks, looking after each other. That was Carlin Swinkles, and alongside her Phoebe Shortcut, just looking after each other, making sure they're okay. And that's very, very nice to see.
Yeah, it's just great sporting etiquette, and these little things help you in the future. If you've got a problem, they remember you've helped them out, and it's all right. You're still competitors. You're a different nation. You want to beat each other, but it's always nice to have friends within the peloton.
Yeah, always. Riffel, I think you're right. A very good rider indeed, and that tough bike race, the Energy Vac Tour, can stand you in very good stead for a race like this.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a hard race, and like I mentioned before, these riders who race a lot in Europe, in Holland and Belgium in particular, get used to these hard flat races and accelerating, sprinting out of corners, and that's exactly where the experience of these riders will be really beneficial today.
Looking here at the peloton, 28.8 kilometres to go. We're getting some predictions in now. James Fuchs, of course, one of the New Zealand riders, has sent the pick that Michaela Harvey and Maddie Park. Maddie Park will get back, and they will take 1-2 for New Zealand.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
It would.
It'd be great for New Zealand.
Be very, very good for New Zealand. James, thank you very much for your prediction. I think Chloe Dygart's watching as well. She is tweeting right now, last year's winner. What a fantastic season she has had this year. Chloe Dygart, one of the most talented young female bike riders in the world. One rider going clear, and it's a Swiss rider who has decided to go on the attack now to try and break the will of the rest of the riders in this field. They've got some great riders. Lena Matreau, Pauline Roy, and also Svenja Wutrich are the team of Switzerland who are staying near the front. I think this might be Wutrich who is just going clear for Switzerland. We'll have a little look in a minute, see whether she can open up a little bit of a gap here on the rest of the field.
Yeah, it certainly looks like a big acceleration there, and all it takes is the peloton to hesitate for a moment and you get a gap, but I think they're quite attentive here. They know it could be dangerous, so they're straight on the front trying to work to bring this back.
Nice relaxed style there with the forearms on the bars. Nice time trial style by this Swiss rider. I think this might be Lena Matreau, you know, just judging by the time trial style as they close up. The Germans are not letting anything go today. Immediately anything happens, they nullify the attack. They clearly want this to come down to a sprint.
Yeah, they're not happy to let anything go, are they? They might want it to be a sprint, I think, but you never know. They could actually be bringing it back to wait and launch for an attack themselves. But yeah, the way they're being so attentive to keep everything together, I think it looks like it could be a sprint for those riders.
27 kilometres to go. If you would like to give us your predictions or your thoughts, at Ant McCrossan or at Lucy Martin 05 is where you can join us. If you're wondering who's alongside me in the commentary box, Olympian and former member of some of the top teams in the world, Lucy Martin, giving us her analysis of what's going on in this junior race. Lucy will be with us tomorrow as well for the Women's Elite Road Race Championships, which I think is going to be an incredible race tomorrow. Such big named riders, big teams. As we see number 44, Musilevskaya of Russia, just trying to cool herself down a little bit. It's funny, it's 9:41 in the morning. We started very, very early today. 8:30 was our start time of this race. And so far, we've seen thrills and spills in this women's junior road race. If you just joined us now, a massive crash after 7 kilometres. It took the peloton to split into two, 25 riders in the front group, another 20 odd riders or 30 riders in the second group eventually. We've still got a few riders out of the back. The pace has calmed down a little. The average speed is now 39.819 kilometres an hour as we go round the Pearl past the marina on the right hand side. Surprisingly, the wind has calmed right down. Last night it was very, very strong indeed, and now we are seeing it much calmer. Last night there was a rumour being spread around the dinner table, which eventually was dispelled, that it was going to rain on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know where that rumour came from, but I really don't think there's going to be rain here. It's the absolute opposite. It's just dry and hot, and yeah, no, that's
not going to happen,
true.
Is it?
No
way. But I think tomorrow we are promised that it could be pretty windy for the women's elite road race as well. I'm just looking to see how many riders still left in that front group, because it looks smaller, but it isn't. There's 56 riders still in this front group after 44 kilometres of racing were covered. Sitting right on the back still is Phoebe Shortcut. She seems to be quite comfortable just sitting at the back, sitting in the wheels and waiting.
Well, it's 25k to go now, so it's the kind of time in the race where the riders who want a breakaway and don't want to sprint really need to start thinking about attacking and trying to get away before it's basically too late to let anything establish itself, and then riders and teams begin to look at a sprint. So there's been a few attacks this race, but now it seems everybody's just looking at each other. The pace has dropped a little bit. They're still going 39 kilometres an hour. But yeah, so we've not seen some riders all day. Those riders are really saving energy and staying in the middle of the pack, and as we talked about earlier, they have skills to save as much energy as possible and just relax in the middle of the bunch. And I think these are some of the riders that we might see actually at the front later on.
Let's pick a few more riders out. A few riders that I noted, you may well have done the same. Erin Atwell of Canada, National Road Race Champion of Canada as well, another possible rider we should look out for.
Yeah, and of course she's a track rider. She's a two-time national champion on the track, 2 silver medals, so she's got the leg speed, she's got the speed, and also on the Canadian team. Not sure how she'll go today in the road race, but junior track World Championship Omnium bronze medalist Maggie Lister Coles Lister.
Coles Lister, yeah.
Wrong
Maggie
way around,
Coles
sorry.
Lister.
So yeah, it's quite often with junior riders, they do road and track, and they're getting a feel for the discipline that they prefer and they're better at. But she's certainly a world-class rider to take a bronze in the Omnium.
Yeah, absolutely. Other riders maybe we'll just pick out quickly. We've mentioned Chloe Moran, who got back into the race. Madeleine Fasnacht of Australia. Also, some riders just being pulled out of the race, unfortunately, after being held up by that crash. We're getting too close to the end of the race for them to go round again and complete this World Championship. We've mentioned Suzanne Anderson, we've mentioned Lena Matro, Lisa Morzenti of Italy, a big name in junior cycling, possibly. We mentioned Elisa Balsamo. Maaike Boogart of the Netherlands was the national time trial champion. The Americans certainly have got a very good team. Megan Heath, 8 times a national champion, 6 national records she holds for the United States of America. Megan Heath, another possible rider.
I think from the Australian team, Chloe Moran, who we saw have some problems with the bike earlier on, but she's certainly strong rider. She's the Oceania Road Race champion. Also on that team, though, the national road race champion, Madeleine Fasnacht.
Yep.
Another possibility there.
So a lot of riders. You just got to try and pick someone out who's got the speed to drag up that hill, and that's the hard thing. That little drag. You can't go too early. You've got to time your sprint perfectly up that climb.
Yeah, and I think we've
Well,
just named...
climb. I'm calling it a climb.
Yeah, it's not quite a climb.
It's become a climb because it's the only uphill bit.
You can't call it a climb.
No, okay. I'll call it a drag.
I'm sure, though, it probably still feels like a climb when these riders are trying to sprint up it. But it's quite an open race, I think, here today. And there's a lot of fast riders, but also it's quite an open road and an open la kilometre. You know, it's a wide road, so it's a lot about positioning today. And it's not necessarily the fastest rider always wins. It's the most savvy and the girl who saved the most energy throughout the day and then hits out exactly the right moment. And as we've seen yesterday in the men's race, it was a rapid sprint, and it was actually quite close altogether at the end. So you need a bit of everything. You need a bit of luck, obviously you need talent, you need speed, you need to have just handled the heat well, you need to handle the nerves. Obviously all those riders crash, they might still be suffering a little bit, not feeling 100%.
Rider then recovering. Very disappointed after today's race. You can give it absolutely everything. That's Maëva Paret-Pont of France, who's just very disappointed after what happened in the race. She was 8 minutes down there. And just to let you know that Madeleine Park and Hannah Arensman, the New Zealander and the American, are 6 minutes 53 down. So James Fuchs, I don't think they're going to get back before the end of this race, unfortunately. But at least they are still riding. They've still continued to try and finish this world title as Germany now take control of the front of the race, setting a nice tempo. Behind them is the Norwegian, one of the Norwegian riders. America always represented, the USA, Australia, also Denmark riding a clever race. Denmark, as we mentioned earlier on, with Catherine Marsal looking after them. 3 Danish riders in here. Simone Egg, Johan Marsha, Emma Norsgaard are the 3 Danish riders, and they will certainly ride as a team to try and bring home the victory. We see Nicole Stegena of the Netherlands. She was the rider who had the big crash. She fell on the right-hand side, right by the barriers, and one of the first riders, I think, who hit the deck in the crash.
Yeah, and you can see that with all the wounds. It's actually great just to see she's carried on for so long. And these girls are so tough. I don't think people realise sometimes how hard cycling is. All the things you have to battle with. You've got tactics, you've got the weather, you've got crashes, you've got nerves. And quite often, as we actually mentioned the other day, riders fall, hurt themselves, and instantly all they want to do is get back on the bike. And she survived the race with all those cuts and bruises and everything in this heat as well. It's not great. And these are just really tough girls, and especially these kind of characteristics are what you need later on when you're racing every weekend in the pro peloton, and you're going to crash. You're a cyclist, you're going to have bad crashes. That's just part of it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, you have to be a tough rider.
Yeah, I'm always surprised at just how tough they are. Some of these riders quietly spoken sometimes, and then you put them on a bike and they are absolute nails, and just able to deal with everything, able to deal with the cold, the heat, the crashes, how tough it is, how much it hurts.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just riding your bike. There's everything. It's a full lifestyle, of course. It's an elite sport, and yeah, it changes a lot. People get a lot stronger and a lot tougher, and you learn so much about yourself and about everything, dealing with problems. You can have a bad crash, you can break a bone, you have to deal with that, train, get back to a good level, and it's admirable to see what many of these riders go through and still come back even stronger.
I was fascinated talking to you the other night about the fact that you didn't even know about cycling, ended up being spotted by the Great Britain talent team, and then riding, and then travelling the world riding a bike, and how it does change you. How it changes. You didn't go to school thinking, as we go through the feed yet again, the Italians looking a lot more urgent at the front here. You don't go to a careers advisor at school and say you're going to be a bike rider, but British Cycling came to your school, spotted you, spotted Lizzie Armitstead, spotted others, and have changed their life.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel very lucky to have the privilege to have started cycling in such a way, and to actually come from such a strong nation of cyclists. And I think the Australians have the same concept. They found a lot of riders as well from schools, and not from being necessarily already cyclists, and bringing people into the sport. And you see now many other nations are trying to follow the same concept, and as cycling grows, and women's cycling in particular, a lot more riders are actually aware of cycling and what it's about and getting involved. But yeah, I didn't even know what a velodrome was back then. Whereas nowadays, my friends, the last couple of years actually, my friends who, when I was racing, they knew nothing about cycling, they're constantly naming all the girls and all the guys and talking about certain races, and it's just unbelievable to see how much the sport has changed over the last few years. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great to see. One rider attacking with a bottle in her mouth, she was just about to have a drink, and then suddenly there's an attack, and she's got to close it for Germany. That was a moment she didn't really want to happen. We've now got a hashtag because Maddie Park is about 6 minutes down. We've got a hashtag going on Twitter, Believe in Maddie, which is, it's happened. She could come back. It is possible, but it's very unlikely right now. But if you want to support that, support the hashtag.
Well, she's certainly a strong rider, so yeah, it's definitely, anything is possible, but only 20 kilometres to go now, and you can see the pace is still remaining high. It's around 39, 40 kilometres an hour average, so it's hard, and I think as we come into the final, it's just going to keep getting faster and faster, and certainly towards the sprint, if it is a sprint. And yeah, it's going to make life a lot harder for these other girls who are still trying to get back on.
The washing machine effect's happening now as riders move up the left and the right hand side, trying to get to the front of this peloton. It's nice and compact, but this is a dangerous moment in this race, I would say, because the pace has gone out and suddenly people are tired. The heat is paying its toll, and also when the race slows down like this and people suddenly start to feel how tired they are, when their adrenaline's not absolutely flying, crashes, touches of wheels, doesn't matter whether it's men's cycling or women's cycling, this is the moment when problems start to happen, and they've got to be very, very careful here.
Well, I think as we've seen at the start, everybody was quite nervous and anxious, and we had that awful crash. Then it settled down again once everyone rejoined, and it was, you know, for a period of time it was quite relaxed. Then we've had all the attacks continuously, and just this moment is where it's relaxing down now, and I think the nerves are creeping back in. Only 19 kilometres to go, so riders are going to be talking to their teammates and deciding what's the best tactic, and it's the moment where, yeah, you kind of, some riders can just take their eye off the ball, they're tired, it's been a long race, they're relaxed too much, but then within the next few kilometres, as soon as they get towards 15 kilometres to go, that's really when it's all on for the finish, and everybody switches back on, gets ready to race, and it's the World Championships. They're going to be really, really, really focused and motivated for this final part. Of course, it's a lot harder when it's hot and you're tired to remain focused the entire race. And I think that's possibly why we've not seen some attacks recently. People are getting a bit tired.
Inside 19 kilometres to go, going round the Pearl, the cranes on the left-hand side. Lots of buildings still in this area. They're building the new Metro Underground, and they're building a lot of more offices and apartment blocks as we see another attack at the front of the race, and it's a German rider going clear yet again. A little bit of a gap now starting to open up as the rest of the squads look around at each other and try and bring this rider back. The Danish team now immediately go to the front. They're obviously starting to think now about winning this race. They've done no chasing at all in this race so far, but suddenly Denmark get involved in the action.
As we said before, we saw the German team are really, really focused and attentive, and they were the ones chasing back all the small attacks, and we wondered whether it was because they wanted a sprint or if they were going to wait and actually launch an attack themselves, and that's clearly what they're doing now, and it's they've opened up a big gap, so it's going to be about how hard the Danish team want to chase. They've only got 3 riders, they've not got a huge team, so they've got to really decide who really works.
Well, the Danish team have won this race with Amelie Didriksen twice in the last 3 years. We saw her out training yesterday, getting ready for tomorrow's race. Amelie Didriksen, a great track rider, a fantastic road rider, finished 5th in the Olympic Games in the Omnium, has won the Junior World title twice. So always, I'm sure she can pass her experience on, the same as Catherine Marcel, onto this Danish squad. Simone Egg, Johan Marsha and Emma Norsgaard are the team of Denmark as the Germans all start to chat on the front of the peloton. The Italians now looking interested. We see the arrival of, I think, the Spanish squad also, Sandra Alonso, Mylene Armendia and Miriam Gardashal of Spain up towards the front now of this race. The Canadians just taking a drink. Erin Atwell, Maggie Coles-Lister, Devani Collier. There's a lot of nations in here with a chance of winning this race. Over on the left-hand side, the team of Poland with Borela Nerlo, Karolina Perekito, Victoria Pikolik and Nikola Roskinska. All the Polish team over there on the left-hand side. The Netherlands have still got their key rider in here to try and win this race. But the tempo now very, very steady as we see Skylar Schneider and the rest of the American team also near the front.
Yeah, you can see then there's quite a few riders all talking to each other, and only 17 kilometres to go, so they really need to decide now, do they want a sprint or is somebody going to launch an attack for a late breakaway attempt? And it's the riders are going to be getting anxious now. It's the World Championships, it's not that far to go.
And when you think about it, there's the noise of the helicopter overhead, which you don't get in junior bike racing. That will be a bit strange for them. They won't really have had that ever before. It's the traditional noise of a bike race with the cars around and the motorbikes, and suddenly the helicopter is overhead. They know that they're on television all the time as well. It's a totally different sensation.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of junior races, but like you said, there's none of them have TV coverage necessarily or a helicopter. It's a huge event, not only the World Championships, but there's a lot of exposure for these girls. They know it's a key race for them to perform, and they can get noticed, and it can lead to other things. So they're going to be so nervous right now, and there's so many good riders in this group.
Well, also they know that they've probably been walking around in the different hotels the nations are staying in, and they will have seen the team owners who are here. Ronnie Lauker's here for Canyon SRAM. We know Rochelle Gilmore's here. We know that we've seen other top team owners who are looking at these races. They're following these races. They want to see who the talent is that they need to sign for the next couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure all the girls realise that. But I think it's quite important they actually don't focus on that, and they just try and do the best race they can, because they don't need added pressure. It's already the World Championships. But as most riders do, put a lot of pressure on themselves.
16 kilometres to go. We are almost at the end of the penultimate lap, and then we will start to set ourselves up for the finishing line to find out who will be the world champion for the junior women. The tempo has been around about 40 kilometres an hour. This last lap has been relatively steady. If we take a look, the Dutch are now starting to look very interested. They only got 2 riders left now, I think, the Dutch, after they lost a couple. Yeah,
there's 2 riders at the very front, but
Oops.
It's hard to see actually. They're quite compact, this group, aren't they?
Big wave there as riders braked. One nation we haven't mentioned, we should, is Sweden, with Clara Lundmark, who's over there on the right-hand side. Yeah, a little bit of a wave effect happening there on the right as everyone break. That was close. Number 16 there from France, Clara Caponi, almost touching a wheel.
Yeah, of course, the Swedish nation, they've only got one rider here. She's obviously the big up-and-coming talent from Sweden, national road race and time trial champion. But it's going to be hard here when you haven't got any teammates, you're all by yourself. And that's why I think we haven't seen her very much. She's just using the other riders right now.
Yeah, she's just got to surf the wheels and hope that she can get the right wheel for the finish. One lap of racing to go now, and this race has got just over 15 kilometres to go. The peloton led by Bugard of the Netherlands, Stefan of Germany, Kluard of France, Paternoster of Italy. They're the riders who go across the line first at the end of this lap.
I'm quite interested to see how the Australian team's going to do, because they've got 3 strong riders there, but we've not really seen much of them today. So they're clearly saving energy and remaining at the back. They've not been in too many of the breakaway groups, and I think they're very keen for a sprint today. And of course they've got so much support around them. They've got the elite riders who have been very successful. They've got Catherine Garfoot, who was just 3rd the other day in the time trial, so the team morale is going to be high, and a lot of the staff on the Australian team are really valuable, from the Swannies to the mechanics. Wayne Nichols, for example, the mechanic, he's been around women's cycling for a lot and knows a lot, so these girls are really well informed about the race today.
The first Dutch rider missed a bottle, the second Dutch rider took it to help out. Yeah, we talk a lot about the riders, but the support staff's so important to make sure that these riders can win. The Italians working so well as a team, even at this junior level, taking bottles for their teammates all the time, not just taking one bottle, grabbing 2. Their bike handling skills, very, very good indeed, to be able to grab 2 bottles in the feed, holding one in one hand and grabbing the other as well. Leading through there was Micah Bogart, Hannah Steffen, Pauline Kluard, Letitia Paternoster of Italy, Devana Collier of Canada, Fleur Nagengast of the Netherlands. I think the Netherlands have got 2 or 3 riders in here. But in the front group, just to update you now, the front group comprises 54 riders in total. And a lot of nations still represented. One rider from Thailand in here, Kanyarat Kestelonglang, who is towards the back of the peloton right now. So 54 riders still in with a chance of winning the world title. Lucy, this is going to be an interesting finish.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to predict, and like we said before, I think a lot of it's only 13 kilometres to go, so it's very likely it could come down to a sprint today, as we saw yesterday in the under-23 men's race. But I think a lot of it is going to come down to positioning and bike handling skills and reading the race well, where to sprint. And I'm sure many of these riders have been around with the federations, and they've talked about if they're going to do lead outs, they've talked about where to launch from out the wheels and really give 100% in the sprint. You don't want to go too early. It is a slight uphill, like we said, definitely not a climb, but it's an uphill. So it's really going to be important about timing and everything. Oh, the Canadian rider nearly.
Oh, that was, how did she write that?
That was impressive. She stayed up.
I don't know how she did that. Well, maybe we'll get a replay in a minute. I've got no idea. Here we go. How did she do this? Oh, how did she hold that? She hit a bottle, I think.
I think she should be a cyclocross rider. I'm not sure who it was, actually.
I think it was Erin Atwell, who just somehow, I've got no idea how she held that. That was pretty impressive.
Well, she's a track rider, so she'll have learnt a lot of bike handling skills on the track, and it's valuable because she stayed up. She's in the race. That could have been disastrous for her.
It could. That could have been the end of it. Michaela Harvey of New Zealand's midway down the peloton for any New Zealand fans who are wondering where everybody is. One rider from South Africa is still in here. Nicolene Moraes is still involved in the action. Lynette Benson was dropped after that crash. Summer Moak of the United States of America sitting about midway down. You mentioned Krista Riffel. She went across the line 15th that time. Well, the peloton quite calm now. Number 31 there has always been at the back. That's Phoebe Shokart. What is her plan?
Yeah, it's not necessarily the best place to be, as we saw before with the crashes, but even in the elite peloton, you see certain riders just prefer to stay out of trouble, stay out of the bunch, and they just feel more comfortable at the back. And of course, you can only do that if you're a really, really strong rider that you can keep getting back on. But it's not necessarily the best way to ride a race, but for some people it works. So she just has to be lucky that there's no crashes in front, and then has to chase back on.
She's back on now as the Canadian team swing off to the left-hand side of the race. The Americans now starting to take a little bit of control. They've been riding well together today. Still a few riders out of the back. We haven't got an update on exactly where they are. We've got about, what, 6 riders haven't finished so far who've been pulled out of the race. Looking down on the peloton, and still everything's pretty calm. 42 kilometers an hour they're just rolling along at. No one's been able to break away. And the 2 American riders setting the tempo. Another American rider coming up here. So all the Americans are together. The only rider not there, Hannah Rensman, but Megan Heath, Summer Moak, Skylar Schneider getting ready for this finish. And the American riders really ride on a feast of this style of racing, big criteriums.
Yeah, definitely. And over in America, the roads are generally quite wide, so this will suit them perfectly. And it's what they're used to. They'll do a lot of crits and tight corner races and everything over there, so it's a perfect kind of course for these girls. Yeah,
it is. And I know the American riders sometimes struggle to get used to the tight roads of Belgium and the Netherlands and the road furniture and everything, because they are used to these long, straight boulevards with fast corners, and this is, you're right, absolutely perfect for them.
Yeah, I actually find these open roads a lot harder, because in Belgium, when it's, you know, the small roads, you can hold your position at the front easy. If you're good at positioning, you can stay at the front the whole time. If you're at the back, it's obviously really hard to get up to the front. But here, as we've been seeing, there's kind of a washing machine effect. So 1 minute you're at the front, next minute you're at the back, and everyone's swooped round past you. So it's also quite mentally tiring. You've really got to stay focused, not to just drift back. And you can follow someone, you can be behind them, and then all of a sudden they've gone to the back as well. So it's hard, and I think that's going to make for a really interesting sprint today, because it is such a wide lead in all the way to the finish line. So you could be at the front with 500 metres to go, and all of a sudden around the corner you can be at the back, because it's only a small peloton really now coming into this finish.
Looking here at the front of the race, 10.5 kilometres of racing to go. We have still got 50 odd riders who've got a chance of winning this race right now. We just saw another group go through at 7 minutes down, including Masuzu Shimuyama, Karina Casanova, Katja Kerpen have gone through 7 minutes down. There's a group around about 6 minutes down as well, and that includes Arina Prusha and a few other riders. Chloe Moran is now dropped off. She's 3:59 down, so the Australian rider Chloe Moran is not going to be in here. She may be suffering after getting involved in that crash earlier on. So she's well down. 4 minutes as a group, containing Madeline Fasnacht as well, and the Chinese and Hong Kong China riders also in that group. So right now, 56 riders in with a chance of winning this world title. Do you have a prediction yet?
No.
Still not?
No, I really think it's quite open, and anything can happen, and it's going to be a lot, obviously, about, if it comes to a sprint, you have to be fast if you're going to win this race, but I think it's going to come down to the teams who still have riders as well, because, of course, like you just mentioned, some of the riders from Australia unfortunately aren't here, and it's affected a lot of teams having this crash, and people have had problems with the bikes. Maybe they're not feeling 100%. Also, when you have a big crash like that, it can affect your nerves in the final, and maybe riders won't take risks, and they'll be worried about crashing a lot more than if the race had no crashes. So I think, yeah, it was early on, and riders and teams have recovered, but it's still affected a lot of people here today.
Just after 10 o'clock in the morning as we look here at the final 9 kilometres of this junior women's road race. It's the American team on the front, the Danish team massing as well. The arrival of the Canadians on the right-hand side as we look in the blue-coloured kit. We're going to find out very, very soon who's going to be the world champion. Send us your predictions if you'd like to at Lucy Martin 05, at Ant McCrossan. Liam Capel is still holding out for New Zealand 1-2, the most positive tweet of the day so far. I don't know if that's going to happen. You might get the win, but I don't know if you can get the second place unless Maddie Park can find her way back to a 7-minute deficit right now. I don't think that's going to happen. Just to update, Hannah Rensman also 7 minutes down, is with Madeline Park. Long way back. This tempo is going to be too hot to handle on the way in to the finishing line to come back to this fast group of riders we see here at the front as they go right and left around the roundabout and rejoin at the front of the race. 8.5 kilometres to go.
Imagine the nerves there again and the adrenaline. 8.6 kilometres to go to find out who's going to be the new junior world champion. These girls are going to be tired, their legs are going to be sore, they're going to be super focused though, because there's not a long way to go, and it's a huge opportunity for all these riders. And I think this is a good moment actually, now that they're kind of bunched together, no attacks are coming, they can drink, they can make sure they take on the final bits of food. Might be a little bit too late, only 8 kilometres to go, and that's something they should have been told, and they probably will have been told all from their teams, is that it's so important to make sure you eat and drink throughout the race, because this is the final moments of the race where if you've not looked after yourself well, even if you don't feel hungry, you don't feel thirsty, then this is where you really pay for it. And sometimes it is the difference between, or quite often it's the difference between winning or losing a race.
Around about 38 kilometres an hour as they roll along through another one of the 24 obstacles on this course, either a corner or a roundabout. The American team riding a great race here with on the front Megan Heath, Summer Moak, Skylar Schneider trying to bring home the victory for the Stars and Stripes clad team. The Italians right on the wheel. The rider from Colombia, Tatiana Duenas, has ridden a great race, a very attacking race so far. Over on the right hand side, some of the Australian riders. We know that they only have one rider, I think, left in here. I think that's Jamie Gunning, isn't it, who is still in here. Over on the right-hand side, the orange-clad team of the Netherlands come forward with their sprinter, of course, in here. But they've got the time trial world champion, Carleen Swinkles. I've got a prediction. This, I think, might be a good prediction for you, because I think we should listen to this one. Elisa Longo-Borghini and Elena Cecchini say the win will go to Anderson, second will be Balsamo, third will be Cipolloni, and that is what they think will be the finishing order of these riders, and I think we should pay attention to that.
Yeah, certainly experienced riders, they know what they're talking about. And yeah, I think the only issue is how Anderson has recovered after she was obviously hit by a car. Yeah. And she's in the race, so she's obviously healthy and fit enough to race. And if she's still 100%, she's certainly one of the stronger riders here, ready for today. Well, it would be a fairy tale, wouldn't it? Yeah. She was 5th in 2015, national time trial and road race champion. So Elisa Longo-Borghini, Elena Cecchini say that is going to be the prediction for today. And these two riders know what they're talking about. The two of the most talented bike riders in the women's peloton in the world. As we look here at the rear of the peloton right now, the pace is being set by the Netherlands, and they are setting a great tempo. The American riders just surfing the wheels. On the right hand side, the arrival of France with Juliette Labousse, who was 14th in this race in 2015. Give us your predictions at Ant McCrossan, at Lucy Martin 05. Join in with those riders who know, who are joining in on the chat on Twitter right now. On the left-hand side, the Americans, what a great race they have ridden so far. Very, very impressive for such a young squad. And we will find out in 6 kilometres time who is going to be the world champion. I think the American rider looking for a bottle here just to make sure hydrated enough.
Any other riders that we haven't mentioned who could take this victory today?
We've not really spoken about the Danish team too much, but Simone Egg, really strong rider. She's racing for BMC Bern. Seventh in the National Championship time trial, 9th in the European time trial, so she's clearly a strong time trial rider. They've also got Joanne Marsha, 2nd in the National time trial, and Emma Norsgaard, National Championship road race.
Well, we're looking down on this peloton. It's nervous moments for everybody here. I think the American team will be riding for Summer Moke by the looks of things, but we will see. I think the team of the United States of America buoyed by the win of Brandon McNulty, and also, of course, by Amber Naben in that time trial. Who is going to take it? We're very close to the finish now. Only 5 kilometres remain.
I just mentioned Emma Norsgaard from Denmark, National Road Race Champion. She's actually the elite National Road Race Champion. She beat Amelie Didriksen, of course, former two-time champion in a sprint. So we've not mentioned her too much today, but I think she's certainly, she's proved that she's a very, very talented rider.
Well, you can't, Amelie Didriksen's got a good sprint. To try and beat her is pretty impressive. An attack now from Spain on the left-hand side. This is the time when you can be outwitted. An immediate reaction from the Russian rider going clear to try and join up with the leader. So an immediate reaction, and the pack come back. It looks like the peloton going to close this one up as they head now towards the finishing line.
Yeah, the pace is really lifted here now from this Spanish rider.
Thanks very much for the update on Chloe Moran, who, of course, has had a bike change. Although she's showing on our GPS as a few minutes down, she may well not be. Thanks to Jesse Braverman for the update on that. Chloe Moran, I was wondering if there was... I'm just looking here to see if there are 2 Australian riders in this peloton right now. Certainly all the Italians are together on the right-hand side. Can you see 2 Australians? I can only see 1 rider there on the left-hand side. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's hard to pick out.
The Norwegian riders now coming forward to the front of the peloton. Suzanne Andersen is being led out by her teammate here, Ingvild Gaskjen, who is trying to bring her to the front of the peloton. She's got her perfectly placed on the left-hand side of this peloton now. This will be a very good run-in. Rachel Hill has said that Skylar Schneider will be in the mix. We know she's a great criterium rider. She loves the thrills of the run into the finishing line. Victor thinks that the Swedish rider will take the victory, Clara Lundmark. But she's been quiet. She's been able to sit in the wheels all day. She has no teammates at all to help her out. She's got to surf the wheels. The Canadians now arrive. The Russians are there. The Swiss rider arrives at the front now. It's a mix, isn't it? It's just constant movement in this peloton of junior women. 3.8 kilometers to go, and it's so tight, it's so compact, and it's very, very nervous.
I think the American team are looking good. They've been doing a lot of work to stay near the front in formation together, so it's clear to see now which teams really, really want this. And the teams with a high number of riders are all at the front. They've got the sprinters there. They're all staying out of trouble near the front, and I think it's only 3.5k to go. It's quite easy to see many of these big teams up here now.
We look here at the front. The arrowhead formation starts to form. The Canadian team trying to bring this victory through. Swinging around, looking for each other, looking for the lead-out trains. The German team arrive as well. The Italians, look at them all together, all in the mix, trying to make sure that they have the best position. 3.2 kilometers now remain as they move over to the right-hand side of the road. Really, really tight in there. All those riders very close to the wheels in front. 3 kilometers to go. Yeah,
the French team really setting the pace now at the front, and they've got a few riders all tucked in the wheels behind. Those few girls taken the long way round, unfortunately. Lost a few positions there, but the pace is really on now. You can't really move up a lot, and especially if these riders like the French team, they've got a rider on the front really setting the tempo for her teammates.
Well, let's see what happens now as we wait for the finish of this race. 2.8 kilometres to go. The Italian squad go to the left-hand side of the road as they try to bring Balsamo forward to win this race for Italy. Maybe that can set themselves up for a great weekend for the Italian women. The move now on the right-hand side, and it's France with Juliette Labousse moving 2.5 kilometres now to go in this junior women's road race. Over on the left-hand side, the arrival of the Netherlands, trying to bring forward their sprinter to try and win this race. It's a long drag uphill. Don't be surprised if the world champion of the time trial, Carlin Swinkels, wins this race. Looking down from the helicopter now, the Polish riders also arriving. A big move on the right-hand side as riders who've been blocked in try to find their way back to the front of the race. 2.2 kilometres to go. The arrival now of one more rider to the front of this peloton in the blue on the far left, but the Italians look to have this under control. There on the right hand side in the blue and white, looking strong. The Netherlands right next to them. They've chosen the perfect train to go with, and suddenly the American team are notable by their absence at the front of this race.
Yeah, you can see how the peloton's moving and switching and changing, and it's great to see the Italian and the Dutch teams still at the front, still maintaining a high pace, and it just shows how incredibly talented these riders are. They're really working for a lead out for their designated sprinters. The French team's still there. They've got boxed in a little bit, but they're still all together, and it's just switching and changing constantly. 1.6 kilometres to go now.
Well, let's see what happens. Lots of predictions that Skylar Schneider will be in the mix. She's a very, very fast sprinter. 1.5 kilometres to go as these riders make their way now towards the final turns into the finish. We had that huge crash earlier on that put everyone in trouble, as we see now the Norwegians riding forward to try and set this one up for a great end to the week for Suzanne Anderson. The Italians now have it, but the Norwegians are fighting hard. The Dutch on the right-hand side. The Danes are surfing the wheels well. 1.2 kilometres now remain. Any moment now we're going to turn right and we are going to go under the red kite for the final run into the finishing line. 42 kilometres to go for these 42 kilometres an hour, not to go 50 kilometres an hour as they go underneath the red kite. And now we will see who wins this world title. The Italians have it on the right hand side of the road. They take the perfect line. The photographers are all ready to find out who is going to be the world champion. The Italians have this lead out train absolutely perfect. Surfing into the wheels is the Norwegian rider Suzanne Anderson, but also up there is Skylar Schneider of the United States of America. It looks like the Italians have got this one absolutely nailed, but the French riders are coming through too. One of the Danish riders is also in here, and they're not far from the finishing line. The American rider right in on the wheels. Who's going to take this one? The Italian riders still have it as they go towards the finishing line now. On the wheels, I think, is Skylar Schneider, looking very, very good for the United States of America. The Italian riders. Now the big attack comes, and it comes from Norway. And it looks like Suzanne Anderson's the first rider to open up the sprint. Who's going to take it? The Italian rider's going to take it. It is going to be a win for Italy. A win for Italy right on the finishing line as they go through. And it is number 10, Elisa Balsamo of Italy, who takes it. Second in the European Championship. She won it by a massive margin. It was a great performance by the Italians. They absolutely nailed the sprint. Elisa Balsamo takes the world title for Italy. What a race.
Well, that was absolutely fantastic, and you could see all the way in from before 1 kilometre to go. The Italians were in such good formation and they had such a strong lead out, and it's great to see she's delivered.
It was a fantastic sprint, wasn't it?
Yeah, really, really strong ride there. And she had a lot of challenge there from the American rider and the Norwegian rider, but just had it, and she had enough time to even celebrate.
She had a big, big gap on the rest of the field. It was a stunning performance there by this young rider to take the victory. Balsamo just had so much distance between the riders. I think Skylar Schneider was also up there. We haven't had the replay yet. She opened up the sprint very well. I think she might have got second place the American rider Skylar Schneider, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Norwegian gets third place. Let's take a look at this from the helicopter shot here, Lucy, and we'll see whether we can pick out the other places.
You can just see the Italian team, how they've practiced this, and it's a perfect lead out. One rider swings off, main sprint rider's still there, but look at the Norwegian rider tucked in there on the wheels, and she launches first, and she's going with so much speed, but of course the Italian saves her energy on the wheels. Strong sprint there as well from the American, but she's just a bike length in front, and she knows it when she celebrates.
So it is the victory to Elisa Balsamo of Italy. Skylar Schneider of the United States of America takes the silver medal. Suzanne Anderson of Norway takes the bronze medal in a week in which she was hit by a car, destroyed her bike, and now she is bronze medalist. It was a stunning sprint by Balsamo. Look at the Italians. They're already sitting up celebrating. She was so far away. It was a great win by her. They got it absolutely nailed. And still her teammate, Leticia Paternoster, finished in 5th place, having been part of the lead-out train.
Yeah, and we talked about them a lot today. You could see how they were very experienced, and they were just one team today. They were getting bottles for each other. When one of the riders was off the back, they went to the back, and they must have been racing together quite a lot, because that was a really, really great team performance, and I'm sure they're going to celebrate all together there now. But look at the gap. She crossed the line so far ahead.
Wow. It was a great victory. Look at that, 2 or 3 bike lengths from Skylar Schneider, and the Norwegian rider Suzanne Anderson in 3rd place. A great victory by Balsamo. We've talked about her before this during the rollout. We talked about her as a possible victor. Elisa Longoborghini and Elena Cecchini said that she would finish 2nd and that Anderson would win. They got 2 of the top 3 riders.
Yeah, that's really, really great. But she's the national champion on the road. She's clearly a really strong road rider, and she's shown it again today.
Yeah, a great race. As we look down here then on the Pearl here in Doha, we will hear now from the new world champion, Elisa Balsamo.
Elisa, you are the world champion. A very big smile on your face. First of all, can you explain the sprint? How did that go?
Yes, it is unbelievable. I have to say thank you to my teammates. They were so beautiful and strong. And this is our world championship, not only mine. And we are a beautiful team, and this is a great result, not only for us, but for all the Italian female cycling.
Can you believe it? You're a world champion?
No, I can't believe it. Maybe tomorrow, the day after tomorrow.
Gold medal, world championship title. It's a first dream in your young career. What is the future for you? What is your dream in the future?
But the next year will be very difficult with the elite. But my dream is winning with them, and so I try.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Grazie.
Well, a lovely interview there by Elisa Balsamo. A beautiful team, she says. They did everything to help her win today. Skylar Schneider, United States of America, takes the silver. Suzanne Anderson of Norway takes the bronze medal. That's the makeup of the top 10 of the riders today. The Polish rider taking 4th place. And here's the run through the top 20 riders.
That was a really passionate interview, wasn't it, there? She thanked the team so much, and rightly so. I think they were amongst the best teams here. They all rode very well, and that's what happens if you really ride for one rider, one teammate, one focus, then you can win. You have problems when, you know, people want to race for themselves. So to see that already in junior racing from the Italians is absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure all of that team and the whole podium and the top 10 there, all these riders were so close in the end, and I'm sure they're going to be the big names of the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You could see how powerful she was as she started her sprint. She got it absolutely perfect, came off the lead-out train, perfectly timed, and executed it very well indeed. You can see her just making the move when she had to, just as the road starts to go slightly uphill. And the Italian lead out, looking around, just going, right, off she goes. Let's see if she takes it.
And just think, these girls have had so many riders to look up to over the years. Giorgia Bronzini, Elena Ciccini, Elisa Longo Borghini, it just goes on the list. And tomorrow in the elite race, they've got a really, really strong team and they can do really well today. And like we said before, as soon as somebody in the nation wins a medal, the whole country is motivated, no matter whether it's a guy, a girl, junior, under 23. So this is going to be really motivating for the rest of the Italian team in the days to come.
You could see just how emotional she was as she raced across the line. Her teammate was already celebrating about 50 metres from the finishing line. She got the lead out absolutely right, put her right in the perfect position.
Yeah, and it just shows the confidence. They believe. She's already celebrating a teammate's win. She's not even crossed the line yet, but they believe she can do it, and she has. And look how happy she is. First junior world title.
Well, we know that she's won a lot of races. She is very, very talented, but the entire squad is. When you go through, Lisa Morzenti, the European time trial champion, what a year they've had.
Yeah.
They win the European time trial, the World Road Race. Extremely good. Well, we'll bring you the podium in just a few moments. Thank you to all of you who've joined us for today's coverage of the race. It's been full of all sorts going on. There's a great shot across from the gantry, looking down on Skylar Schneider, just crossing the line.
Well, it's interesting now we've had the under 23 finishing a sprint, junior race finishing a sprint. Do you think tomorrow, women elite sprint?
It's very possible. It depends whether this wind blows or not.
Yeah, that would be a big factor, and I'm sure many of the riders are watching so they can see how the race is panning out and how this course is and where the riders are sprinting from, and they can actually look at the junior races today and learn a little bit about the course.
Look at this group coming in here.
Oh.
They've ridden together for the entire race. There's been some friendships made, I think, in this peloton today. There they go. They were the ones who were all held up by the crash. Some bike changes. I think I'm looking there. Hannah Rensman's on one of the Shimano neutral service bikes even. And they have helped each other get to the finishing line.
It's great to see they're in such high spirits because they were robbed of the opportunity to race today. The crash happened so early on and it just took too long to get a bike and get going. So they didn't even have a chance from the start. It's not a case of they've been dropped and they're not worthy. So I'm glad to see that they're actually making the most and staying positive.
They're getting ready now for the podium presentation. There they are. There's our intrepid gruppetto at the back of the race. Coming in all together. And they're all going to just enjoy finishing today's junior women's road race. That's a lovely shot. All together. They're all going to be placed equal on time. And that just shows solidarity of how many nations. That's incredible to see. Fantastic finish. And now they're all going to sprint. Competitive to the last. Well, they helped each other out. They were 7 minutes down at one point as they cross the line. Now they can still say, well, we finished the World Championship and we managed to regroup, work together and get there to the finishing line.
This just really highlights cycling and women's cycling in particular. The characteristics of these riders. They didn't drop out the race, they didn't pull in. They've carried on racing all the way to the end, even though they're not in a chance for the medal. And they're all different nations, but still coming together as one.
Waiting then for the presentations. Eddie Merckx in the sunshine. She's about to be presented with the rainbow jersey. Just cleaning up the legs.
What an amazing performance from the Norwegian rider, though, Suzanne Andersen.
Yeah.
I saw a photo of a bike from the crash the other day, completely broken, and yet, again, a true test of a character. She's not let it bother her. She's come in the race. She's not ridden in the race and thought, poor me, I'm unfortunate. She's raced it, and she's ended up with a bronze medal.
Yeah, the bike was absolutely smashed to pieces. Very, very lucky indeed. Great that she was okay, and great that she's able to race and get here onto the podium, which was the dream. I'm sure she'll have been looked after very carefully by the Norwegian support team. They've got a great setup, and well, in 2 days they've won a gold medal in the under-23s race and a bronze medal in the women junior race.
Absolutely. Fantastic. This is nice to hear from you. I hope to enjoy.
We get ready now for the presentation.
Road World Championships.
I'm just going back to the predictions. It was Elena Cecchini who tweeted, said her prediction, but Elisa Longo-Borghini's prediction, she tweeted just before the finish, was Balsamo, Lippert, Anderson. That was a pretty good prediction too. She got the winner, she got the third place, she only got second place, not quite right.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Women's Junior Road Race. Bronze medalist representing Norway, Suzanne Andersen.
Suzanne Andersen, the bronze medalist for Norway. The Norwegian fans are out here supporting. They're having a great time over the last 2 days.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of them, haven't they? And again, another time, another rider on the podium, so they must be very, very pleased. I'm sure she's going to be a big, big talent in the future. She's riding for high-tech products, and it's great to see that they're taking on younger riders and really trying to develop women's cycling into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's already been signed by one of the World Tour teams. Skylar Schneider, lots of predictions from people in the know about her today. She takes the silver medal for the United States of America. They've had a great championships.
Gold medalist and world champion representing Italia, Elisa Balsamo.
Elisa Balsamo is the world champion. That's going to motivate the Italian riders for tomorrow. She'll go back to the hotel, she'll show them the rainbow bands, and that will help the motivation for Saturday and Sunday. It will motivate both the women's elite and the men's elite teams, I'm absolutely sure.
Yeah, and we've seen many times in the past the Italians really come together at the major championships as a team, and they all dedicate themselves for one rider, and it proved that's the case today when they all raced for this rider. She's taken the jersey, and in the interview she thanked everyone and said it's everybody's jersey, so it just shows the great Italian spirit.
Yep, 2014 they took the silver medal with Sofia Bertazzolo.
Look at them all.
Yeah, that's what it means to the team.
2016 UCI Road Championship Organizing Committee are presented by Rally Dakar champion Mr. Nasser Saleh Al Attiyah.
The winner of the Dakar Rally presents the awards. Elisa Balsamo is the junior world champion. And the final special gift is presented now.
Mesdames et messieurs, à l'honneur de la championne,
And now the national
de
anthem.
l'Italie. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of the world champion, let's hear the national anthem of Italy.
The Italian team have had a great time singing along to the anthem. It's all about teamwork to win a bike race. It's not an individual sport. And Elisa Balsamo has benefited from the strength of her team to win the world title today. There's our podium. Suzanne Anderson of Norway, Skylar Schneider, United States of America, and Elisa Balsamo, the new world champion. So the photographers taking the pictures now. All smiles from Elisa Balsamo. Day 6 has started well. Not far now until we bring you the junior men's road race. And tomorrow, of course, we will see the women's elite road race, which is going to be, I'm sure, a thrilling day of racing. Well done to Suzanne Anderson, Skylar Schneider and Elisa Balsamo. Their teams worked hard and the Italians are just going to enjoy the moment. That was the team that did it. Chiara Consoni, Martina Fidanza, Lisa Morzenti, Leticia Paternoster bring home the victory for Italy for Elisa Balsamo.
Congratulations, thank you. You can sign on the whole shirt.
She signs her name on the rainbow jersey.
Thank you and congratulations.
Starts in a great weekend for the Italians. They are going to celebrate all day today, I think, the young Italians. Elisa Balsamo, new world champion. Skylar Schneider, silver medalist for the United States. Suzanne Anderson of Norway. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's racing. We're going to bring you the junior men's race shortly. In the meantime, we fly over the Pearl. And we'll leave you with some highlights from Lucy and myself. Goodbye for now.
Yes, please move your
Cask, okay?
no cap, no cask, no.
Nothing. Nude. Vestiti posso
Girls, no glasses for the podium, please.